Alright, this video is about the yin-yang ki versus the Ra spirit, Haru, A-Ra, Ba meaning soul. Remember, the H is the fence, and first and foremost, that's Apollo. It's science, it's calculating, it's cunning, it's the tree of knowledge. It's all the people that use their positions in social clubs, intelligence agencies, even teachers at school to kind of try to make people who are kind of geeks and white supremacists, brutes that they've teamed up with, etc. And pretty boys, with nice gym equipment, look good and superior to the actual natural horse martial artist hero. Okay, and of course, one of the things they use is they leverage that he's a black guy against him. Right? They get every group to say, "Hey, you want your race to look better than black people? Then help us do this." And that's pretty much what's going on, including, the kind of crypto races in the black community and their allies and social clubs that help, keep this guy down and make sure that the attractive women aren't talking to this guy, dating him, and talking about why other men are insufficient, kind of by default, right? By him showing why he is unique and special, he's by default showing that they're insufficient, right? So let's consider, why are females stupid? Well, it has to do with a lack of moral courage, a lack of moral precision, a lack of moral romantic passion. So when it comes to moral intelligence, when it comes to being wise, right, they're unwise. Okay? A moral romantic passion that considers the bigger picture with a Horus martial art moral precision, not knowledge or insight alone, mind you, and moral courage is what would have prevented them from being stupid. I use the junior high example. Most females never outgrow their junior high mentality. When I was younger, I looked at it as white culture. Okay? It was basically, there was a bunch of yuppies at the private schools I went to, and they had public school counterparts, mind you. They lived in the suburbs, they got good grades, they were healthy, they watched the same sort of TV shows more often than not, they stopped at the same places, they kind of hung out together once in a while, and they stayed on course for the shallow kind of mainstream white, mainstream Western kind of culture. Okay, they stayed on course for that. That was their main concern. They weren't concerned with love. I'm sitting there hurting inside because females are shunning me because they're in this kind of yin-yang Masonic checkered floor key energy, right? This energy is about conforming, right? You see the Asian people and the white people, they're friendly to people. They're maintaining their standing in the society. And if somebody's doing the right thing, right, for them to maintain their standing, by default they have to roll with the rest of the world energy. So it is literally the world energy of functionalism and complexes, right? The complexes, survival complex, perhaps the most common one, and conformity and so on and so forth, versus the spirit of righteousness, focused moral intensity, and seeing the bigger picture, right? The falcon, bird's eye view, he's flying high. He flies the most high. He sees the most of the picture in truth, right? The snake, he might know all the ins and outs and the secret passageways, but because he doesn't have moral courage and moral precision, he doesn't truly see what's going on, and with mental clarity. Remember, romantic clarity is mental clarity, is moral clarity. Okay, they're all the same thing. If you are mentally clear, it's only because you are morally clear in the repetition of doing the right thing. That's what it means to have moral clarity. Knowing how to exercise effectively does not get you in shape and help your brain function. It's actually going out there and exercising. And so it is with morality. Understanding my argument does not give you moral clarity and mental clarity and romantic clarity. It is only the repetition which allows you to do this. That's why there's plenty of people in secret societies and social clubs and intelligence agencies that aren't doing the right thing. Because they can hear people like me and Martin Luther King, it's just a lesser form of a moral argument than mine, and he even admits it towards his death, right? He led people into a burning house argument, is what he said. So yeah, you can hear these guys all day, but you're not in the kind of exercising the demon repetition of walking with God, which brings you the true mental clarity. And by default, you get the romantic clarity. If you're passionate about morals, you're passionate about love, okay? And how people are treated, and truly what is the best way to treat them. Horus is the hero. He's the ideal man. He has the ideal form of love, the true love, and so on and so forth. All right. So the energy of playing the colonial game versus the spirit of the creator and the most righteous and deserving that ever lived. So those people, like, it goes back to the high school female. Everyone in America pretty much is in a spectrum of the private school, high school female yuppie, but me, okay, and maybe my parents. They're trying to fit in one of these cultures that's relative to the yuppie point of reference. What is normal is the yuppie. You go to McDonald's, right? It is like it's designed by a yuppie for yuppies. And then there just happens to be some in the hood. You go to the liquor store. It's like it's designed by yuppies for yuppies, and then there happens to be some in the hood, and they have a little bit more of a ghetto theme. So what? The yuppie liquor store is the point of reference. It's the deluxe liquor store. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Everything is relative. The mall. There's a yuppie mall, fancy yuppie mall. Okay, in San Jose, it's like Oak Ridge and Valley Fair. These are yuppie places, and then people from poor areas happen to come through, and there's some stores that appeal for them. The yuppie spirit is the spirit of America. Everything else is just where these guys overlap. If you're too poor of a farmer and a white cowboy, for example, you will become poor and homeless, right? Unless you conform and appeal to the yuppiness. The corporate structure is a yuppie structure. Okay, it's a yuppie, liberal, progressive structure is the way it's best described, right? Because they deal in technology. They're not trying to conserve things in truth because it's business. They're adapting to the business environment, the political climate, and the cultural climate so they can stay relevant. So all big business by default is basically liberal in the sense of technology and eugenic progressive philosophies. Okay. All ulterior motives are beneath the hero. Okay. So what does it mean to transcend? Transcend. Okay. Transcend. Okay. Well, all ulterior motives are beneath the guy with mental, moral, and romantic clarity. They're all the same thing, remember? Family, sex, money, pride, jealousy, hate, you name it. Anything that can get in the way of him doing the right thing, he's put beneath him. Okay, he has true moral clarity, true mental clarity, true romantic clarity. Remember, they're the same thing. And this is the only thing that allows for spiritual clarity. No one else has the right to say that they're spiritual in truth. They're a liar. They have the freedom. In America, they're encouraged to lie about it so they can confuse you about where the real spiritual point of reference is. I'm the light on the stand. Remember, this goes back to Matthew 5:15. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In a predominantly Christian culture, everyone should know that females aren't smart enough, generally speaking, to be noble. It's right there in Proverbs 31:10. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. She's worth far more than the capitalists can give her. Okay. Don't forget that in a capitalist culture where money is the root of all evil, and they all know it, okay, corporate trickle-down evil, trickle-down pedo money, trickle-down blood money. Okay, black people own less than 0.5% of the capital, and of that, there's a lot of celebrities like Oprah and Michael Jordan. These guys have all the money, and the rest of us are like struggling. Okay, you know, even my dad's a brain surgeon, struggling. Okay, this is the culture. Okay, if you're evil, you have money, you conform. If you're more decent, you spend money trying to help people. And the guy with the true clarity knows that there's no being moral without obeying the moral structure. You have to give the workers wages. This goes back to, James 1:4. Behold the hire of the labor, I believe it's James 1. Behold the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. Okay, so there's more than one way to not pay the laborer. You can pay them as part of a secret society, Masonic network, for example, and have your friends rip them off at every turn. Are you really paying them? It's like paying slaves just enough for them to pay you money. When they freed the slaves, they would buy things from the store that would basically have them broke and staying on the plantation. Many of them chose to stay on the plantation because they had nowhere else to go. Were they truly free? Were they truly getting paid their worth, or were they kept at slave wages? Okay, there's more than one way to fraud somebody. Society came together and defrauded my dad, who was the most moral person of his generation in America. They came together as a society in a liberal state, in the most populated state, to make sure he had no opportunities, to make sure he was ripped off, and to make sure that they would use his good heart against him. There is no good in this country. There's no good in this planet that's allowed. Amen. Okay. Science and worldliness versus a true honesty. The way and connecting to God with pure transcendence. No Western trickery. No ripping off people like my dad and teaching your daughters to shun people like me and ripping them off and cheating them and turning around and saying, come to my church. When your network is doing that, you're a demon, period. You have conformed to mainstream demon culture. You're a demon. You have no business teaching martial arts. You have no business teaching church. Speaking of that, when we look at this thing, why aren't these other guys valid? I'll give you 5 reasons. There's more than that. Okay? The burden of proof is on them. You have a black belt. Everyone knows the color black, not the black skin, mind you. The color black is associated with evil for a good reason. Darkness, the dirt that happens at night. You have dragon symbolism all over the place, and those who don't distinguish themselves from those who do. If you are good, why do you blend in with those who are evil? Because you have a yin-yang accept evil philosophy. And obviously, accepting evil in a pure evil world with some kind of superficial fucking decency is evil and not good. Okay? You don't obey. You don't pay the workers' wage. If the Christian, average Christian yuppie or small town redneck in church understands that you give the person his rightful place, it's a form of paying him his wages. You don't cheat him out of his rightful place. That's a form of denying him his wages. Jackie Chan is like $350 million. I could kill him in a split second in ancient combat still, even in this sabotage state. You know, why I live with my parents. The martial art community is extremely complicit with defrauding me out of the admiration of potential wives, economic advancement, my rightful place. My ability to lead humanity, they may as well be raping and killing little kids every day. Because by keeping me from my rightful place, okay, they're allowing all this evil in the world to occur. They're pure evil. And it goes back to preparing, right? What are you preparing for? If this guy goes out to work, okay, he works a 9 to 5 every day, and he goes, where's my paycheck? Their argument is like they prepare to go to work every day and they show up and say, hey, pay us more than him. The hero is the master. You haven't done anything. All you've done is train people to be conformists. How is that marshaling anything? To order, to arrange. Well, they say, well, marshal, M-A-R-S-H-A-L, is not the same as M-A-R-T-I-A-L, right? It's a stupid argument. When you go to your dojo, is there not a teacher? Do people not line up? Are you not ordering your students? If you're ordering your students every day, how come they're coming out with a social norm thong on? You are a failure as a teacher. If your students come out and conform to mainstream crony capitalist culture, you are a failure. If they go back and they work at the same corporations as the blood money scum, if they go and marry the same types of scumbags as everyone else, you have failed. How could you not be a failure? You know them by their works. Your works is conformist, crony capitalist, American pigs. How are you not a failure? None of them obey me. All the females shun me. You're not martial artists. You are fraudulent scum. Think about it. And it also goes back to the forms of love. How do you not understand what true love is? And you're supposed to be a Mr. Miyagi times 10 type of motherfucker? How don't you what don't you get? Okay? Pragma is not true love. When two fucking conformist Americans... So really quickly, let me go over the forms of love that they should be aware of. Okay? Obviously, I need to tell the truth. If I'm too harsh, which I doubt, mind you, I apologize. For good measure, I'm going to say that. Okay? So pragma. Pragma is supposedly the love of two people over a long period of time. Okay? It's obviously wrong. It's also right there in the word. When you scramble it, rape, G-M-A. Rape, G, the world deity, key, right? Gaia. Okay. G, the Roman earth deity. M for magic, and I've gone over this in the wordplay videos, and A for alpha. So it's basically rape because it's a worldly energy. It's pretending that you're being more like the alpha, but it's some rock and roll star, some politician, some ninny that people look up to, okay? Are allowed to look up to and not punished for looking up to. Storage, right? Store, G, right? It's right there in the wordplay. Scrambled, you literally get store/G. Storage is the love for children. Okay? This kind of love is not the true romantic love that brings you to God. It's like a love for a pet or something. It's not much more admirable that in its common form. Philia, friendship. Okay. The love that two people have as friends. Philatia, the love of oneself. Okay. So when we look at an eros, erotic desire, then they say mania is an obsessive, fixated love. They basically fixated the idea of bipolar, right? Ba, which is the soul, pole, the pole, principal pole, okay? Ear, bipolar, right? So they've superimposed this idea of being sick on the idea of love, and there's articles that reflect that that's their angle that they're playing.